The beloved community was a term first coined in the early days of the 20th century. Fire. Sorry. By the philosopher and theologian Josiah Royce, who founded the Fellowship of Reconciliation. However, it was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., also a member of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, who popularized the term and invested it with a deeper meaning, which has captured the imagination of people of goodwill all over the world. For Dr. King, the beloved community was not a lofty utopian goal to be confused with the rapturous image of a peaceful kingdom, in which lions and lambs coexist in an idyllic harmony. Rather, the beloved community was for him a realistic, achievable goal that could be attained by a critical mass of people committed to and trained in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence.
Thank you, Dr. Gene. Over the course of the past year, there has been some discussion at Community Church Unitarian Universalist about the meaning of a beloved community. Similar conversations have been held in other Unitarian Universalist congregations. These wide-ranging discussions lead to today's look at a beloved community. As Unitarian Universalists do, we will ask questions in order to gain a greater knowledge about a beloved community. Questions like, where did this term come from? What does it mean? Is it still relevant? And is it possible to build a beloved community? So the first question, where did this term beloved community originate? From the reading just done, you see that Josiah Royce first came up with it, and that it was popularized by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My familiarity with a beloved community began nearly 50 years ago. In the midst of discussions about civil rights and wars, I chose nonviolence, and the predominant voice in that arena at that time was Martin Luther King Jr. I learned that his path to nonviolent civil disobedience came from Gandhi, and that Gandhi learned it from Tolstoy, and Tolstoy picked it up from Thoreau. Thoreau's text, Civil Disobedience, includes these words: I ask for not at once no government, but at once a better government. Let every person make known what kind of government would command his or her respect, and that will be one step toward obtaining it. Yes, there are long Unitarian Universalist roots to nonviolence. The concept which King first brokered into the idea of a beloved community being its end result. I learned more about nonviolence when I went to Jena, Louisiana in 2006. A busload of Unitarian Universalists left the Church of Baton Rouge, and we met with people from all over the country. UUs came from Ohio, a busload was in from Philadelphia, and many others we found there from Houston, Jackson, Atlanta, DC, etc. All of us met at a park outside of town and were given instructions for the march to Jena. The organizers said to us, please form rows of 8 people and stay in your place, stay in your row. Bystanders, locals will shout at you. Do not respond. This is a non-violent march. The world is watching. Let's do this right. That was it. Short and simple. And it worked. There were no confrontations or difficulties during that march to Jena. So what does beloved community mean? Martin Luther King Jr. said, the beloved community is a realistic, achievable goal that can be attained by a critical mass of people committed to and trained in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence. That is what happened in Jena. A critical mass gathered to support 6 young men, and our presence lifted national attention on the difficulties faced by 6 high school students who have suffered from injustice. I compare this with one of the things I have heard about a beloved community, and I think it's a shift that some people take with this term, and it's really what I want to address today. Some people seem to think a beloved community, it can exist within 4 walls. Let's say in a church. And this is partially true. A beloved spirit can be felt within 4 walls. The community can exist here. It can be observed, sensed, and celebrated here. And for some, though, that is enough. For some, it is sufficient to say, we are friendly, or there are good people here. But others ask a question. If we use this word beloved, what exactly does it mean? Because, as they go on, this is a question about the word love, hidden as it is in beloved. You cannot have a beloved community without love. And the problem is, many people have different opinions about the meaning of love. Martin Luther King Jr. addressed this. He said there are 3 types of love. Eros, a sort of aesthetic or romantic love. Philia, affection between friends. And agape, an overflowing love, which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative. Agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy. It begins by loving others for their sake and makes no distinction between friend and enemy. It is directed toward both friend and enemy. Agape is love seeking to preserve and create community. If his plan were to stop here, if this was the entire course of action, it would be possible to say that beloved community exists within 4 walls. But there's more to it. He goes on to say that the only way to build a beloved community is by attaining our goals. This is an interesting step, attaining our goals. The 6 principles of nonviolence we read a few minutes ago lead to the 6 steps of nonviolent social change, which you will find on the back of that responsive reading we did. Let's take a look at it. You will see information gathering to understand and articulate an issue. You must investigate and gather all vital information from all sides. Education, which involves informing others, including your opposition, about your issue. Personal commitment. Affirm your faith in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence. Discussion, negotiation. Confront the other party with a list of injustices and a plan for addressing and resolving these injustices. That's a part of it. Direct action. Actions taken when the opponent is unwilling to enter into or remain in discussion, negotiation. And reconciliation, which should be friendship and understanding with the opponent. Both sides resolve the injustice with a plan of action. Each act of reconciliation is one step closer to the beloved community. All of this leads to the definition of a beloved community I prefer. One that says the beloved community is a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. In the beloved community, poverty, hunger, homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of decency will not allow it. A global issue. But is this still relevant today? Is it relevant for us? You may have noticed that during the last few years, we at Community Church have formed relationships with people on the margins of society. Following the guidance of our community ministry team, our members and friends have gone out and gathered information on those with special needs, and then educated the members of our congregation about what we have seen, developed personal commitment to address the issues you see, discussed and negotiated with organizations who oppress, taken direct action against evil systems, forces, oppressive policies, and unjust acts. And all of this has happened in order to correct and reconcile with those who have been promoting injustice. In other words, your community ministry team has followed the direction of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., taking each of these steps carefully and thoughtfully and thoroughly. And I must say, they may not have always known they were following all of them. They may have missed one or two on several of these items, but they have focused on ways to reach out and strengthen our local connections to those who are living on the edges. In other words, one more thing to consider. In a world filled with over 7 billion people, we alone cannot bring global change to all. We know that. We know that. As an example, it would have been wonderful to stop the shooting in Lafayette, Louisiana on Thursday night. But we were not there. And it may not have been possible to do anything if we were there. Perhaps we should be more grateful that we were not there than have placed ourselves in the line of fire. There are other places we cannot be, and times we may not know what to do even if we were in the midst of a major social justice movement. This is all true, but we can do something. We can look at policies and systems, and this helps. And it also helps a critical mass of people who think like us, because when we combine with others who think like us, it is possible to change the world for the better. This is why we seek the connections just mentioned. As being said, a critical mass of people can point toward unjust policies, actions, and force, and slowly and carefully point the way to a world filled with justice, equity, and compassion in human relationships. One example is the recent decision on gay marriage. It did not happen quickly. but it has eventually happened. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Is it possible for us to build a beloved community and to do some of that work here at Community Church? Yes. Most definitely, yes. I say so because it's not only possible, we are already in the process of building it. You have put it in place through information gathering, educating, etc. A program to build new relationships, provide helpers and assistance, and donate money. This has not been an act of kindness or of charity. This is all linked through the intention of your community ministry team to extend the beloved character of the community with whom we worship. To extend that out and make connections in the community in which we live. The best way to not feel hopeless is to get up and do something, said President Obama. Don't wait for good things to happen to you. If you go out and make some good things happen, you will fill the world with hope. You will fill yourself with hope. And that is very important to me and to us and to this community. So in summary, you may feel a beloved undercurrent at Community Church. I know I have felt it. But one of the most heartwarming things I have heard said here is that this church has been willing to reach out, help others, and form relationships based on ideas we hold in common. Justice, equity, and compassion have driven us forward. We celebrate when things go well, even as we continue to look for more that needs to be done. Each step forward leads to new celebrations. And through it all, we deepen our appreciation for participating in bringing more justice and equity to our world. Unitarian Universalists have walked a similar path for many years. We began to walk together toward equal rights for women after the gathering in Seneca Falls, New York in 1848. And Lord, what a difference that has made. Our support for gay rights, evident much earlier, crystallized after the police raid at Stonewall Inn in 1969. Our push for civil rights has flourished at times, languished and suffered in our predominantly white community at other times. But we were reminded at this year's General Assembly that Black Lives Matter. And we continue to promote civil rights for all people, testifying that racism exists and it needs to be undone. And here I lift up for anyone willing to explore this a little more carefully, Barbara Arnwine's speech tomorrow at Justice and Beyond, 1700 Conti Street, beginning at 4:45 or 5 o'clock, or come when you can if you are interested in hearing her speech and questions that will follow. I say all this because Unitarian Universalists have been on the front edge of the promotion of justice and equity for many years. Our successes have contributed to our beloved community felt here within these four walls. But let us not forget who we have been and who we are, for the road to a place in time where poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. That place has not yet arrived. Has not yet arrived. And so we go on. May the love in your hearts find love in the hearts of those around you. Namaste. We turn to hymn